Generic yet polite salutations to one and all. This is Trent Mayfair coming to you from, well, I'm not going to tell you where I am this time. I'm going to let you guess. Um, so I spent the last week in Georgia, hung out with a few friends that I made from Gardens of Destiny, saw a few of the sites. Beautiful city, lots of stuff to do here. Also managed to get quite a bit of writing done, which I'm very proud of myself for. Um, so this past weekend I went to After the End. And this was interesting because it was almost kind of a repeat of last weekend. Almost, but not in full. There were a few key differences. First off, the administration of After the End. Before I even get into that, I should point out this game only runs 4 times a year. So the storyline moves a little bit slower. They're trying to get a lot more into any given weekend, which makes the job of the administration that much harder. And I was actually very impressed at how coordinated the administration was in their discoordination. Uh, every staff member had a mentality of yes and, the old improv line, when dealing with the players. And that makes it impossible for full coordination to happen because only one person seeing it, they have to respond to it immediately. There's no time to go and inform the other staff members who are out doing their own various things for the players or to make sure that things are going to happen for the players later on. Um, Add into that the fact that there were 70 players at this game with only like 5 or 6 staff to the game. They weren't honestly expecting to have 17 new players come in. Um, as a result of that, they were stretched unbelievably thin, but you'd never know it. Like you saw them at all times. They were very visible. They were down amongst the player base in one way or another. Uh, they were extraordinarily helpful. They were very friendly. They were open to questions and constructive criticism. Not that I really had much criticism of any type to offer, honestly. Um, I they were a bit reliant on the player base to help each other with like the various minutia questions and all that stuff. But again, given the staff to player ratio, that's totally understandable. Um, Beyond that, when you only have 5 or 6 people running a full weekend game nonstop for 70 players, I never once got the sense that they were ignoring anybody. Like, they were very approachable when they weren't running around trying to get things done. They were happy to answer any sort of questions you have, whether it be about game mechanics, about the game itself, about running LARPs. I actually got brief moments to talk to all of them, and whether or not they realized that they actually did teach me quite a few things about how to just kind of roll with the flow of what the players are doing and respond appropriately to them. But that does bring me to mechanics. My initial read through of it was, oh, it's just like Garden of Destiny. It's perfect. I'll just slip right in as the same character. Should be fairly easy for me. Yeah. It's not like Garden of Destiny's. It's very similar. Don't get me wrong, but they have a few key changes, a couple extra steps added in certain places, taken out in others, a couple of tweaks to skills and spells to make them more useful more often. And they also created a mana system that equalized everybody's abilities. Like, I was very surprised they were able to do that in what seemed like such a restrictive system. But it honestly just promoted people taking the breaks that are necessary for people to take. You don't want people running for 48 to 50 hours nonstop. Uh, Gave them a chance to like eat, sit down, role play, catch up with friends, etc. I also appreciated their mono restoration system because it required interactions with other players of other classes. So the different classes actually help to support each other and keep each other going, just like you would have in a real town. Um, and that diversity within the character structure they have like lent itself to such a beautiful balance that it's honestly remarkable. It was one of the most balanced class systems that I've ever seen in a game, just because every class was required in order to help everybody out in order to function to their fullest. Um, it was a delight to observe. Like it really was. A total delight to observe, and it was even more fun to get involved with things. And even just walking in as a first time player to this particular game, I felt extraordinarily useful, and it didn't seem like there was anyone else who quite had the full versatility that I did, because most people had cross-classed into Bard or from Bard, whereas I went straight up the tree. So people, really do get to be unique while still fulfilling those vital roles that are required within a township that a LARP usually consists of. So now beyond this, I don't feel that it's worth it for me to discuss the player base, because many of them were the same players from the previous weekend, and those who weren't were very much of the same mentality. They were open, they were welcoming, they were highly immersed. I don't feel much of a need to just repeat what I said in the last video, but the player base there does know that I truly love them, and I truly wish they have 5, 10, 15 more years where they get to enjoy this wonderful LARP that they have built up here. So, insofar as my overall experiences, what I learned from observing the game is that the setting in and of itself that you put things in, you can still have that small space and make things work, but there is a certain degree of being able to hike out to somewhere and actually get out into the woods and feel like you've traveled a couple of miles, even if it's only been a few steps. If it's just right outside of the area where all the buildings are, it doesn't feel like you've gone miles. But this game, they actually kind of mitigated that by just having everything occur in town. Like, that is a viable option, and I wonder why more LARPs don't do that. This is your insular town. You got to protect it from the incoming hordes of whatever creature the game has chosen. So yeah, use of your territory. You really want to fit in with your storyline. You want to make sure that you're utilizing your space, but you're also utilizing your story within the space that you are utilizing. So, what I learned from the players, again, a little bit, not take myself too seriously. Very stark reminder. Amazing musicians at this game, really knocked my ego down a couple of pegs. Amazing role players really knocked my stage ego down a couple pegs. But again, that's part of the fun of LARP. I mean, you don't have to be the best role player, you don't have to be the best singer, you don't have to be the best sword fighter, you don't have to be the best at anything. Just go and enjoy yourself. And if you're going and enjoying yourself, chances are you're going to make a few friends, and all of you get to enjoy things together. And that's really what I learned from the players. That it's the player base that's going to make or break your game. So those connections between the players are all that more vital. When your players are friends with each other, things go a lot smoother overall. What I learned from the GMs is roll with the punches. Like, the players are going to do what they want anyway, so roll with the punches and give to them what they are putting forth, as long as it's within reason. It's the same lesson that I keep getting over and over again, but it really is the most important lesson for a GM. It's the player's game. You're just running the world. You're just there to respond to what they are doing. So, short though this be, these are basically my impressions and things that I learned about LARPing from after the end. I do hope that you all join me next weekend when I go down to Zadoon, which is back down in the Atlanta area. And if not, well, I'll see you when I hit Florida.